The throne room of the Cathar Dominion shimmered with cold light. Polished obsidian pillars stretched upward into a dome of swirling nebulae, projected by ancient tech older than most stars. Emperor Vroth the Unbroken sat on a jagged throne carved from the heart of a dead moon. His body, wrapped in biometal armor, pulsed with faint crimson veins of energy. Around him, commanders and advisors stood in perfect silence, heads bowed low. None dared look directly at him, not unless they wished to be turned into vapor before lunch. A scout vessel had just returned from the far rim of the galaxy. Its captain, trembling in his scaled boots, knelt before the throne. He held a data crystal in both hands, arms shaking like dry leaves in a storm. "Speak," Vroth commanded. His voice rumbled like tectonic plates grinding together. The scout cleared his throat, then said, "Great Emperor, we found it. The world they call Earth." A murmur flickered through the chamber. Earth, a name whispered only in old logs and forgotten maps. A planet orbiting a yellow star, tucked away in an unimportant spiral arm of the Milky Way. For centuries, the Dominion had ignored it. Why waste time on a world so backward? But now, new scans showed something strange, dense energy signatures. Odd radio bursts and structures that didn't match any known primitive civilization. "Show me," Vroth ordered. The crystal was inserted into a slot at the base of the throne. A hologram sprang to life above the floor. There it was, blue, white, and green. Oceans, clouds, cities glittering like dew on a spiderweb. The image zoomed in. Humans walked the streets, flew in metal birds, drove wheeled boxes. No warp drives, no plasma cannons, no energy shields. Their largest warships couldn't even leave their own moon without months of preparation. "They have not achieved faster than light travel," said Vroth, his tone dripping with amusement. "No, Great Emperor," the scout replied. "They barely understand gravity manipulation. Their weapons are chemical primitive explosions. Their communication is limited to radio waves. They fight among themselves constantly. They are divided." Vroth leaned back. A slow smile cracked across his face, revealing rows of sharpened teeth. "Perfect." The Dominion had ruled the galaxy for over 3,000 cycles. Every species they encountered either joined willingly or was crushed into dust. Some resisted. Those were made examples of entire worlds turned to glass, their populations reduced to ash statues. But Earth seemed too weak to even offer resistance. It was rich in water, minerals, and organic matter. Its people soft, squishy, and emotional would make excellent laborers in the Dominion's mines or organ farms. "Send legions in," Vroth declared. 10,000 warships. Full armament. Annihilator-class dreadnoughts at the front. Let them see the face of true power. One of his generals stepped forward. "Shall we offer terms of surrender first, Emperor?" Vroth's eyes glowed brighter. "Of course. We are not monsters. We will give them a choice. Kneel or burn." Across the galaxy, humanity had no idea what was coming. On Earth, life moved as it always did. In Tokyo, students rushed to exams. In Nairobi, farmers harvested maize under a warm sun. In Rio, musicians played samba in the streets. Satellites orbited silently, watching weather patterns, tracking ships, and unknown to most listening for signs of alien contact. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, inside a bunker lined with titanium and quantum shielding, a small team monitored deep space signals. They were part of Project Aegis, a secret global initiative formed after strange energy pulses were detected near Pluto in 2041. No one spoke of it in public. Not even most world leaders knew the full truth. But the scientists and soldiers of Aegis never stopped watching. That same day, one of their sensors pinned. Not a meteor, not a solar flare. Something artificial, moving fast. Too fast, sir, said a young analyst named Reyes, eyes locked on her screen. We've got an anomaly near the Oort cloud. Signature matches. Nothing in our database. Commander Hale, a grizzled veteran with a cybernetic eye, walked over. Show me. The screen displayed a distortion in space-time, a ripple, like a stone tossed into a pond. It was growing, and heading straight for the inner solar system. Could it be a glitch? Hale asked. Negative, Reyes replied. Pattern is consistent, repeatable, and accelerating. Hale didn't panic. He'd trained for this moment since he was 20. He tapped a secure line. Within minutes, encrypted messages flew between Washington, Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, and Geneva. The world's top defense councils went on silent alert. No public panic. No media leaks. Just quiet readiness. Meanwhile, in orbit, a network of satellites, disguised as weather and telecom relays, began shifting into new positions. Underground, massive capacitors hummed to life. Hidden beneath the Sahara, the Amazon, and the Siberian tundra, strange towers rose silently from the earth, covered in moss and vines to look like natural rock formations. Most humans didn't notice. They were too busy living their lives, arguing online, falling in love, worrying about bills. But Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a fortress. And its defenders were waiting, back in the Cathar throne room. The scout captain still knelt, sweat dripping from his brow. Will they understand our message? Roth mused aloud. Will they beg for mercy? It does not matter, Emperor, said the general. Either way, Earth will be ours. Roth laughed a sound like breaking bones. Let it be known across the stars. The Dominion does not wait. We do not negotiate with lesser beings. We consume them. We erase them. And Earth will be the easiest conquest of all. The fleet launched that very cycle. 10,000 warships, each larger than a city, tore through folded space. Plasma cores roared. Gravitic cannons charged. Slave soldiers sharpened their blades. They carried no fear, only certainty, for who could stand against the infinite empire? Not a species that still used paper money. Not a species that argued over borders drawn in sand. Not a species that had not even left its cradle, or so they believed. As the Cathar armada surged toward Sol, Earth remained quiet. The oceans rolled. The wind blew through forests. Children laughed in playgrounds, but deep in the planet's crust. Ancient machines older than human history, older than the pyramids, began to wake. They had been sleeping. Now. They stirred. And they remembered the stars. The sky turned red over Cairo, not the soft red of sunset, but a harsh metallic crimson that pulsed like a warning. People stopped in the streets. Phones recorded the strange light. Some thought it was a solar storm. Others whispered about the end of the world. High above, near the orbit of Mars, reality itself seemed to tear open. Space folded inward, then exploded outward in a flash of violet fire. From that rift, 10,000 warships of the Cathar Dominion poured into the solar system like a flood of steel and death. They were massive, each ship longer than Manhattan, bristling with weapons that could melt continents. Their hulls shimmered with adaptive armor, shifting colors to absorb enemy fire. Dreadnoughts led the way, their bow cannons already glowing with stored energy. Behind them came carriers filled with bioengineered shock troops, ready to drop onto Earth the moment resistance crumbled. On the bridge of the flagship Iron Maw, Emperor Vroth watched Earth grow larger on the main view screen. It looked peaceful, blue, fragile. Broadcast a message, he ordered. A pulse of energy shot from the ship, not a weapon, but a signal. It traveled at light speed, hitting every satellite, every phone tower, every radio dish on the planet. Within seconds, every screen on Earth flickered and changed. A face appeared, tall, horned, eyes like molten gold. A voice spoke, not in one language, but in all of them at once, perfectly translated. People of Earth, you are weak. You are divided. You have not earned your place among the stars. The Cathar Dominion offers you one chance. Surrender your world. Give us your resources. Serve us without question. If you do, you may live as slaves. If you refuse, you will be erased. Then the screen went black. Panic followed. In cities, people screamed. Some ran for shelters that didn't exist. Others dropped to their knees in prayer. Governments scrambled to respond. Emergency broadcasts urged calm, but no one believed calm would help now. Yet in hidden bunkers and silent command centers, something else was happening. Inside Project Aegis AQ, buried under Greenland's ice sheet, Commander Hawley stood before a wall of glowing screens. His face was calm, his hands steady. "They're here," Reyes said, voice tight but controlled. "Yes," Hawley replied. "And they just made the biggest mistake of their existence." He turned to a technician. "Activate Protocol Nightingale." A soft chime echoed through the facility. Then another, and another. Across the planet, deep beneath oceans, mountains, and deserts, dormant systems powered up. What looked like old power plants, weather stations, and even abandoned subway tunnels began to hum with blue energy. The grid was waking. The grid wasn't one weapon. It was a network, thousands of hidden nodes linked by quantum entanglement. Built over 50 years in total secrecy, it used stolen alien tech, human ingenuity, and physics no other species had dared to touch. Its purpose? To protect Earth at all costs. Outside, the Cathar fleet moved closer. They stopped just beyond the moon's orbit. Their weapons charged. Cities below were mapped, targeted, labeled for destruction. Then, without warning, the Dominion fired. A dozen plasma lances, each hot enough to vaporize. Mountains shot toward Earth. They streaked through space, bright as newborn stars, aimed at military bases, capitals, and power hubs. People on the ground saw them coming. Screams filled the air. Some closed their eyes. Others hugged loved ones, but the beams never hit. 10 kilometers above the atmosphere, an invisible barrier shimmered into view. It wasn't solid. It wasn't metal. It was a field of warped quantum states, a shield that bent reality itself. The plasma beams struck it, and simply stopped. Then unraveled, their energy scattered into harmless light that rained down like glowing snow. Silence fell over the planet. In orbit. Confusion spread through the Cathar command deck. What was that? A general barked. "Our sensors show no physical structure," a tech replied, voice shaking. "It's not a shield. It's like space itself refused our attack." Roth's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. No primitive world has such tech." On Earth, Hawley allowed himself a small smile. "They thought we were sleeping," he murmured. "But we were just waiting." Now came the next test. The Cathar, furious, switched tactics. If they couldn't blast Earth from orbit, they'd take it by force. Thousands of drop pods launched from the fleet, each carrying elite warriors bred for slaughter. They screamed through the atmosphere, heat shields glowing, targeting major cities: New York, Shanghai, Berlin, Sydney. But as they crossed the 80-kilometer mark, something strange happened. One by one, the pods vanished, not exploded, not shot down, just gone. As if wiped from existence. Inside the Aegis control room, Reyes pointed to a screen. "Quantum disentanglement field active. Their matter signatures are being cancelled out." Hawley nodded. "Good. Let them learn the hard way." On the streets below, People watched as fireballs in the sky blinked out like candles in a storm. Some cheered. Others stared in stunned silence. Back in orbit, Vroth slammed a fist on his throne. "What is this trickery?" "No trickery, Emperor," the Science Master said, voice pale with fear. "Their defenses? They're not just strong. They're operating on principles we don't understand. It's like they're rewriting physics as we speak." Vroth stood. His armor flared with red energy. "Then we end this now. Launch the Omega Annihilators." These were the Dominion's ultimate weapons planet killers. Each one carried a singularity core capable of tearing a world apart from the inside out. Only used once before, against the rebellious world of Zelka Prime. That planet no longer existed. Only dust remained, 4 annihilators detached from the flagship. They drifted toward Earth, glowing with deadly black energy down below. Aegis detected the threat immediately. "They're bringing out the big guns," Reyes said. Hale didn't flinch. "Then we show them ours." He pressed a single button deep beneath the moon's surface. A machine older than human civilization stirred. It had no name. The builders long gone called it the Watcher. It was not a weapon. It was a key dot, and now it turned. Across Earth, every node of the grid synchronized. Power surged. Time itself seemed to slow for a fraction of a second. Then, a soundless pulse shot outward. Not energy, not radiation, but a wave of pure information. It passed through the Cathar fleet like wind through leaves. On the Iron Maw, lights flickered. Screens went black. Alarms died mid-scream. "What's happening?" Vroth roared. "Systems failing." Attack cried. "Engines offline." "Life support?" "Gone. Weapons?" "Unresponsive." Every ship in the fleet was dead. Not damaged. Dead. As if someone had pulled the plug on reality itself. Then, a voice came through their comms, calm, clear, speaking perfect Cathari. "Your aggression is noted. Correction protocol initiated." Vroth's blood ran cold. For the first time in his life, he felt fear. On Earth, no bombs fell. No cities burned. Children went back to playing. Birds sang again, but in orbit, the Cathar Dominion proud. Feared, unstoppable floated helplessly. There. Greatest mistake wasn't underestimating humanity's weapons dotted. Was never realizing that humanity had stopped playing. By the rules of war long ago, they thought. Earth was a prey, but Earth was the hunter. And the hunt had just begun. Inside the Cathar flagship Iron Maw, silence had never felt so heavy. The usual hum of life support, the chatter of crew, the low thrum of weapons charging, all gone. Only the slow, panicked breathing of Emperor Vroth and his officers remained. The air grew cold. Lights flickered once, then died, leaving only the dim red glow of emergency strips along the floor. Outside the ship, the vast armada of 10,000 warships hung in perfect stillness. No engine trails. No weapon glows. No comms chatter. They looked like statues carved from night itself, drifting in the void like forgotten tombstones. "What? What did they do to us?" A general whispered, his voice cracking. The Science Master stared at his dead console, hands trembling. "It's not just our systems. It's deeper. Our quantum cores are inert. Our neural links severed. Even our biorhythms are slowing. It's as if we've been unplugged from reality." Vroth turned slowly, his eyes burning with rage and something new doubt. "Impossible. No species can shut down a Cathar warship with a signal. Not even the old builders could do that." But the evidence was all around him. His fleet, once the terror of the galaxy, was now a graveyard of metal and flesh. Frozen in space on Earth, nothing seemed to have changed. In Paris, a street musician played an accordion. In Mumbai, street vendors sold chai. In Vancouver, a father walked his dog. Most people had no idea that just hours ago, their world had been on the edge of total annihilation. The news showed strange lights in the sky. Yes, but officials blamed it on atmospheric anomalies. Life went on. Only a few knew the truth. Deep inside Project Aegis, Commander Hale watched the Cathar fleet on a silent monitor. Every ship glowed with a soft blue outline marked, mapped, and fully controlled by the grid. The human defense network hadn't just blocked the attack. It had reached into the very code of the enemy's machines and rewritten them. Are they still alive? Reyes asked, her voice low. Hale nodded. For now, their bodies are intact. Their minds still active. But they can't move, speak, or even blink without our permission. That's terrifying, she said. It's necessary, he replied. They came to erase us. We showed them what happens to those who try. A memory flashed in Hale's mind years ago in a cold lab in Antarctica. Scientists had uncovered an alien vault buried under 3 miles of ice. Inside, they found not weapons, not ships, but something far stranger. A library of reality. Equations that could reshape matter. Instructions to fold time. Warnings written in a language that somehow made human brains hurt just looking at it. From that day on, humanity stopped building bombs. They started building keys. And Earth became the lock no one could pick. Back in orbit, Roth refused to accept defeat. He forced his mind to focus, to push past the strange numbness in his limbs. He still had one weapon left: his voice, broadcast on all emergency bands. He ordered, his thoughts straining against the invisible chains holding him. Use our last power reserve. Somehow, a single comms channel activated. A weak signal pulsed from the iron maw, aimed not at Earth, but at deep space, toward the heart of the Dominion. This is Emperor Vroth of the Infinite Empire, he said, voice raw. We have encountered resistance beyond measure. The humans, they are not primitive. They are something else. Do not come to Sol. Tell the Council, tell the galaxy, Earth is not a world. It is a trap. The message sent. The last of the flagship's power died. Roth slumped in his throne, exhausted. He waited for death, but death did not come. Instead, a new voice filled his mind, not through speakers, but directly into his thoughts. Calm, clear, human. You're wrong, Emperor, it said. Earth is not a trap. It's a lesson. Roth tried to speak, but his jaw wouldn't move. The voice continued. For 10,000 years, your empire has crushed the weak. You took what you wanted. You burned what you couldn't use. You thought strength meant force. But real strength is patience, is silence, is waiting until the right moment to act. Roth wanted to scream, to rage. But all he could do was listen. Your fleet came here thinking you were hunters, the voice said. But you walked into the den of the apex predator. And now, you will be studied. Suddenly, Roth's vision shifted. He was no longer on his throne. He was floating in black space, but not alone. Around him, thousands of his crew appeared, their minds pulled into a shared space. They could see each other, feel each other's fear. But they could not move, speak, or escape. On Earth, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, a massive chamber opened inside an undersea mountain. Rows of crystalline pods lit up one by one. Each pod would hold a mind downloaded, preserved, and analyzed. Not for torture, for understanding. Humanity wanted to know, what makes a species so cruel? So blind? Project Aegis had a rule. Never kill unless absolutely necessary. But knowledge? Knowledge was power. And power, when used wisely, could prevent future wars. Meanwhile, On the surface, a young girl in Kenya pointed up at the sky. "Mama, the stars look different tonight." Her mother smiled. "Maybe they're just watching over us." In truth, the stars were quiet. The galaxy held its breath. No one had ever seen a Cathar fleet disappear without a trace. No explosion. No debris. Just silence. In distant systems, traders and spies began to whisper. "Did you hear? The Dominion sent Legion Zyron to a backwater world," and vanished. Some laughed. Others grew pale. On a mining colony near Vega, an old scout muttered to his drink, "I told them not to go near Sol. Too quiet. Too calm, like the eye of a storm." Back on Earth, Holly stood on a balcony overlooking the Rocky Mountains. The sun was setting. Everything looked normal. Peaceful. Reyes joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. "They're all in the archive now," she said. 10,000 minds. Billions of memories. We'll learn everything about them. Holly sipped his coffee. "Good. Not to use against others. But so we never become like them." He looked up at the sky. "Let the galaxy think we're weak. Let them think we're just another species fighting over dirt. As long as they stay away, we'll keep watching. Keep waiting. Because humanity knew a secret the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. The most dangerous predators don't roar. They wait in silence. They study. They learn. And when the time comes, they don't just win. They erase the very idea of the enemy. High above, the Cathar fleet remained frozen, not dead, not alive, but suspended in a limbo between worlds. Their ships drifted gently, like leaves on a calm river. No alarms, no fires, no screams, only quiet. And far below, on the quiet planet they had tried to conquer, children laughed, lovers kissed, and the wind carried the scent of rain through green fields. Earth had not fired a single shot, and yet the war was already over. Long before humans built cities, before they invented the wheel or wrote their first word, something landed on Earth. It came not with fire, but with silence. It buried itself deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, waiting. It was not a ship, not a weapon. It was a seed, a piece of knowledge left behind by a race so old. Even the stars had forgotten their name for thousands of years. It slept. Then, in 2042, a team of scientists drilling for ice cores struck something hard. Not rock, not metal. Something that hummed when touched. They called it the vault. Inside, they found no bodies, no machines, just walls covered in symbols that shifted when stared at too long. The symbols weren't written in ink or light. They were carved into the fabric of space itself. At first, no one understood. But a young linguist named Mei Lin noticed something strange. The symbols changed based on human thought. They responded to questions, to ideas, to fear, to hope. The vault wasn't a library. It was a teacher. And humanity, for all its wars and mistakes, was a very quick student. Governments tried to keep it secret, but the knowledge spread like wildfire, quietly, carefully, through trusted hands. Physicists learned how to bend gravity with sound. Engineers built power cells that never ran out. Doctors healed wounds in seconds using focused light. But the greatest discovery wasn't how to build better weapons. It was how to build better reality. The vault taught them that matter was just frozen thought. That time was not a line, but a river that could be redirected. That consciousness could exist without a body. Humanity didn't need to conquer space. They learned how to reshape it from within. But they stayed quiet. No grand announcements. No fleets launched into the stars. No claims of godhood. Instead, they built a silent shield around their world, not of metal, but of understanding. They called it the grid, and it didn't just protect Earth. It watched. It listened. It waited. Why? Because the vault had one final lesson. Beware those who come with fire in their hands and fear in their hearts. The symbols had once shown May during a deep trance. They will not see your strength. They will only see your silence as weakness. And they will try to take what you have. When they do, show them the truth. For over 80 years, humanity prepared. They turned old power grids into quantum relays. They hid reality editors inside weather satellites. They taught children math that could rewrite atoms. Entire generations grew up knowing the truth, but pretending ignorance, playing the part of a divided, chaotic, primitive species. It was the greatest act of deception in history. And it worked. The galaxy looked at Earth and saw noise wars, pollution, petty arguments over borders and beliefs. They saw a species that couldn't even feed all its own people. How could such a race be a threat? They never saw the mothers who whispered equations to their babies at night, the farmers who grew crops using light frequencies that only plants could see, the artists who painted dreams that became real in hidden labs. They never saw the truth until the HFY came. Now, floating helplessly in orbit, Emperor Vroth finally understood. This was not a trap, not a trick. It was a test, and his empire had failed it completely. Back on Earth, in a small house in Colorado, an old woman sat on her porch, knitting. Her name was Mei Lin. She was 112 years old, but looked no older than 50. She never aged past a certain point, the vault's gift or perhaps its warning. She watched the sky, sipping tea. She knew what was happening above. She had known it would happen one day. They always come, she murmured to her cat. Proud, loud, certain they are the masters of everything. The cat purred. But the universe doesn't care about pride, she said. It only cares about truth. Deep below her house, in a basement lined with glowing crystals, a machine hummed softly. It was small, no bigger than a refrigerator, but it held the power to unmake a star. It had never been used. Not once. Not even in simulation. Because humanity knew real power isn't in destruction. It's in the choice not to use it. But when that choice is taken away, when someone points a gun at your home, then the lesson must be taught, and it must be unforgettable. In Project Aegis, Halle and Rias reviewed the final logs from the HFY fleet. Every ship was now under full grid control. Every mind was safely stored in the Pacific Archive. No lives had been ended, only paused. We could let them go, Reyes said quietly. Send them back with a warning. Halle shook his head. They wouldn't believe it. Their empire is built on fear. If they return empty-handed, they'll send 10 times more ships next time. Or 100 times. So what do? We show them what happens when you threaten Earth. He typed a command. Across the grid, energy patterns shifted. Not to destroy, but to reveal. In orbit, the HFY crew suddenly saw visions. Not of Earth's weapons, but of Earth's history. They saw humans landing on the moon with nothing but courage and simple rockets. They saw them curing diseases that once killed millions. They saw them building telescopes to look at distant galaxies, not to conquer them, but to understand. They saw them planting trees after wars. They saw them sharing food with strangers. They saw them crying over lost pets and laughing at silly jokes. And then they saw the other side, the wars, the greed, the cruelty. But even in their darkest moments, humans always tried to be better, always reached for the light. Why show them this? Roth's mind asked, floating in the shared space. Because you think strength is domination, the grid's voice replied. But real strength is the will to grow, to change, to protect life, even when no one is watching. Roth had no answer. On Earth, Mei Lin stood up. She walked to her garden, where rows of sunflowers turned their faces to the setting sun. She touched one gently. You see, my dear? She whispered. We don't hide because we're weak. We hide because we're strong enough to wait. The sunflowers swayed, though there was no wind. Far away, in a hidden cave in the Himalayas, a stone tablet glowed faintly. It had been there for 10,000 years. Carved into it were words in every human language, all saying the same thing: guard the light. Do not strike first, but if struck, strike last. That night, as people slept, the grid made its final move. It didn't fire a beam. It didn't drop a bomb. It simply edited. One by one, the Cathar ships were removed, not blown apart, but gently unwritten from existence, like erasing a pencil mark from paper. Their matter was returned to raw energy, their memories preserved, their weapons disassembled into harmless particles. In less than a minute, the entire fleet was gone. Only the flagship remained for now. Inside, Vroth felt something he had never felt before: humility. Tell your people, the voice said in his mind, that Earth is not for conquest. It is for learning. And if they come in peace, they will be welcomed. Then, even the iron maw faded into light. On Earth, no one noticed. A dog barked. A baby cried. A train rolled through the countryside. And high above, in the silent dark, only stars remained, watching, waiting, and wondering what kind of species could erase an empire without ever raising its voice. The stars did not blink. The planets kept turning. On Earth, morning came as it always did, soft light spilling over hills, birds calling from trees, coffee brewing in kitchens across the world. No one looked up and saw 10,000 warships gone. No one knew that an empire older than Rome, vaster than imagination, had been erased in less time than it took to tie a shoe. Life went on. In a small town in Colorado, an old man named Arthur sat on his porch with a chipped mug of coffee. He wore a faded flannel shirt and boots caked with dried mud. His hands were rough from years of fixing tractors and mending fences. If you passed him on the street, you'd think he was just another retired farmer. You would be wrong. Arthur had once been part of the first team that entered the vault in Antarctica. He wasn't a scientist or a soldier. He was a linguist, like Malin. But while she spoke to symbols, he listened to silence. He learned that some truths aren't spoken, they're felt. And Earth had been speaking in silence for a very long time. He sipped his coffee and watched a hawk circle high above the fields. He knew what had happened last night, not because he was told, because he felt it, the shift in the air, the quiet sigh of the grid as it reset itself. Like a cat smoothing its fur after a nap. They came, he muttered, and they left, said a voice behind him. Arthur didn't turn. He knew that voice. It belonged to Rias, now retired from Aegis, but still part of the Watch, the quiet network of those who remembered. She sat beside him on the porch steps, wearing jeans and a plain white t-shirt. No uniform, no rank. Just a woman who looked like she belonged anywhere. No debris, she said. No wreckage. Not even a whisper in deep space. It's like they were never there. Arthur nodded. Good. That's how it should be. He believed in mercy, but he also believed in finality. The Cathar had come to destroy. They had been shown the error of that choice. Now, their absence would speak louder than any victory parade ever could. Far across the galaxy, near the ruins of the Cathar capital, something flickered in the dark. A single beacon, small, ancient, built long ago by a species that once tried to challenge Earth and lived to regret it, activated on its own. It had been waiting, dormant for centuries. Now, it pulsed with a message written in every known language, plus a few that hadn't been invented yet. Do not approach Sol. They are not what they seem. The signal spread like ripples in a pond. Traders on distant moons paused their deals. Warlords in armored citadels frowned at their screens. Scholars in silent libraries copied the warning into their records. Even the ruling councils of old empires, who hadn't feared anything in generations, felt a chill, because this wasn't a threat. It was a fact. And facts, in the cold void of space, were more dangerous than bombs. Back on Earth, no one celebrated. There were no parades, no headlines screaming aliens defeated, because, to the public, no aliens had ever arrived. The official story remained: a rare solar storm caused strange lights. A glitch in satellite systems caused odd radio bursts. Life returned to normal within hours. Children went to school. Workers went to offices. Lovers held hands under streetlights. But those who knew the old ones, the quiet ones, shared a look, a nod, a small smile. They understood. Humanity had not won a battle. It had ended a cycle. For millennia, the galaxy had run on a simple rule: the strong take, the weak obey. But Earth had rewritten that rule without firing a single shot. It didn't want to rule. It didn't want to conquer. It only wanted to be left alone, to grow, to dream, to learn. And now, the galaxy would leave it alone. Not out of kindness, out of fear. And respect. In Geneva, a diplomat from a neutral star system tried to ask a UN representative about recent cosmic events. The representative smiled politely and said, "I'm sorry, but Earth's focus is on clean water, education, and healing our climate. We don't concern ourselves with space rumors." The diplomat left confused but cautious. In Tokyo, a little boy built a model of a Cathar dreadnought from memory. He didn't know where the design came from. He just saw it in a dream. His teacher gently took it away and said, "Let's build something that helps people, okay?" The boy nodded. And that night, he dreamed of gardens on Mars instead. Deep in the Pacific Archive, the minds of the Cathar fleet floated in peaceful stasis. Their memories were studied not to steal, but to understand. Why do beings choose cruelty over kindness? Why do empires rise on bones? Humanity wanted to know, so they would never become that way themselves. One day, perhaps those minds would be returned to new bodies, or released into the stars as light. Until then, they were guests uninvited, but not punished. Arthur finished his coffee and set the mug down. The sun was high now, warm on his skin. "They'll come again, you know," Reyes said softly. "Not the Cathar, but someone else. Someone curious, or desperate, or foolish." Arthur smiled. "Let them come." He stood and stretched, then walked to the edge of his field. There, half hidden by tall grass, stood a stone marker. On it was carved a simple symbol, a circle with a dot in the center. It meant home, but it also meant warning. The grid was always watching. Not with anger, not with hunger. With patience, because Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a promise that even the smallest, softest beings, those who cried at sunsets and wrote poems about rain, could hold the power of gods, and choose not to use it unless absolutely necessary. And that made them more dangerous than any empire that ever was. As the day wore on, a gentle wind moved through the wheat fields. Somewhere, a radio played an old song. Somewhere else, a baby took its first step. And high above, in the endless dark, the stars kept their distance. They had learned their lesson. Do not disturb the quiet world, because the quiet world remembers everything, and it forgives nothing that threatens its children.